That'll be $15.
Don't worry about it. I got you. And don't forget, God got us all. You welcome. I was the bridge to your problems, but y'all took me for granted. We traumatized in the hood, dog. Look at the damage. I've been grinding my whole life. I ain't nothing like you. It's 24 hours in the day. You ain't got nothing to do. I sacrificed my show money just to bring y'all around. Y'all was holding me back instead of holding me down. Y'all be talking behind my back, but in my face, you my brother. But you'll never know my pain until you lose your mother. This whole industry is fake. I wish we spent more time. I blew the brains out the coop. That mean I lost my mind. My reality is I can dictate my salary. Think about it. Only bad came to those who challenged me. Yeah, Jesus walks and Jesus wept. He walking with me. I see the steps. The pandemic came. We barely made it through. I'm a living testimony of what God can. When your pockets get low and your bills stacking up, and the hours that you put in, it ain't adding up. God got us all, man. God got us all. I've been there, I've done that. The battle with the devil, I won that. 'Cause God got us all. God got us all. To all the people in Jackson, Mississippi with bad water, I just sent a truckload of clean H2O. God got us when it feel like adversity start to win. They say when you rap about God, it take away from your spin. Okay, well I hope it take away from my sins. I'm signed to Week, so my whole record label go win. One of my partners going through it, I'm gonna show them the way. And when I help, this ain't the type of stuff I throw in your face. I got a gift they love flip, cause I done carried the cross. I'm watching out for Jezebels trying to marry the boss. My granny had me in the church, I praise God for work. And I don't claim to be perfect, I still get my dirt. Yeah, Jesus walks, and Jesus loves. Put the guns down, you need a hug. Protect your mental health, every inner wealth. Protect you from these demons. I need you. When your pockets get low, and your bills stacking up, and the hours that you put in, it ain't adding up. God got us all, man. God got us all. I've been there, I've done that. The battle with the devil, I won that. 'Cause God got us all. God got us all. I know he got. What's that, Instagram? Out over there. Don't want no show tomorrow. We get your check on Friday, but that's it. Every day, every way, God's got us all. Oh, yeah. I know he got us all. Oh. Each and every day, I know he got us all. God got us all. Yeah. What up? It's the man about town, Virgil Beard, aka Stacks with the Facts. And y'all know what it is, man. Y'all already know what it is, man. Spiritual Roots Sundays. We going in. We gonna get straight to it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. You did. What's good with y'all, man? We got Pops in the building already, too. That's a beautiful thing. You know what I'm talking about, man? What's good with y'all? Yeah, man. You already know, man. We back to it. Right back at it. Right back in action, you did. You know what I'm saying? The powers that be. You know what I'm saying? They be trying to hate. You know what I'm saying? But that's why we got to show them that no matter how much they try to hate, there's so much more love. Inspector Gadget, what it do? What's good with y'all on this beautiful day, man? What's up with y'all, man? How y'all doing today, man? You feel me? It's a beautiful day, man. It's a truly beautiful day.
Could have ended up a lot worse for a lot of us, you know what I'm saying? But it's not. It's a beautiful thing. We all woke up today and we've been here awake all day doing this what we do, you know what I'm saying? We couldn't have. So we already won. Like you always hear me say, you did. Pops, what's good, man?
Hey, all right, son. How's everybody out there in YouTube land today? Been a nice weekend so far.
Mm-hmm.
Been a nice week. Hope my YouTube family is doing all right, being blessed as usual. We're here again for another live podcast. Thank God. Another day we woke up to see. Glad everyone is doing all right. Glad my son is doing all right. I'm doing all right, best as I can.
Yes,
For to be
sir.
an old man. Can't complain. Don't do no good. Don't
Right.
nobody listen. Don't nobody care.
Mm-mm.
just just a little humor for the night.
Nobody care. Mm-hmm. It's humorous but true.
We're gonna get right on into it. Talk to my son, and we was talking about last week. I wanted the women to know that we wasn't trying to bash them or anything. So I said, well, I'm gonna try to make it up to them a little bit, and we're gonna go into some depthness about a little bit more about the woman. You women. Uh, we were talking about Father's Day and the family unit, and each person played their role and each person played a part. So we were talking about, man being the head of the family. Then we broke it down to the wife, she's the co-pilot. And then we got with the children, who they just a part of the unit, that comes along with the turf. And seemed like a little bit we was trying to bash the women a little bit. It seemed that way, but it really wasn't. So I prayed about it and I said, Lord, let me come up with something that I can try to get to see uh how that it really is and the way that it really was, and to let women know that they are uh a beautiful creation, of God. I think most men, for the most of it, they really thank God for women because without women, where would this world be with just men? Well, that couldn't be possible no way, in a sense, because it takes a woman in order to make a family, you know, not so much to make a man, but to make a family. So I just wanted to put some emphasis on that, how important it really is that women are in this world. And it's not just the negative aspect of it, it's the positive aspect of it. And when we begin to start seeing really the place of a woman, and I felt like that if I could get across to the women of the world to let them know how really important and precious that they are, uh, maybe that it'll wake everybody up, and try to restore and put everyone back in this proper place because that's the whole program, that's the whole uh, uh, deal with God is that He wants to try to restore and to rebuild back, the relationship that Adam and Eve had in the garden before the fall. It don't get too much into detail about really how their relationship was before the fall. But if there was one with God, you can imagine that it was where it's supposed to have been. But after the fall, a lot of drastic things changed, and each person, that participated and played a part in the fall, like I said before in my past podcasts, is that everybody had to pay their dues, and everybody suffered from the repercussion of the fall. And for whatever reason that God permitted it to be, that it was that the woman, in one sense, took the greater fall because she was the one that was chosen out to use by the serpent, which was through the devil, that caused the fall to be, and he chose her. So we just want to give a little bit more spiritual in-depthness on how that all came about and why that it did and the outcome of it, and hopefully that we can restore and rebuild back, the proper relationship that man and woman had in the garden, and hopefully, by bringing into the reality of what happened really to the woman, that it would also line up with the man, and they both would both be back together and begin to start trying to rebuild this relationship between man and woman, because it had definitely ran astray. You know, when we live in the age and the world we live in today, it is just totally chaotic between the relationship of men and women. And me and my son, we had hit on this podcast couple of times about this. We try not to get too in depth in it because we don't want to step on anybody's toes, deliberately, or really trying to hurt anyone, discredit or disrespect or disapprove of anyone, because we both play our roles and we both play our parts. So I was just led, to just come on this podcast this evening, and try to give a little bit positive insight to, the fall of what took place back in the garden, and just try to restore men and women back to their proper places where they were at in the garden. And also, hopefully, and very carefully, now you listen to me, women out there, I'm not still trying to bash you women in any way, but the only way you can solve a problem is that you have to recognize the problem, in order to be able to restore something that has been tore out of place. You have to go back to where it all started, and go step by step, precept upon precept, and try to see where everything went astray and just align everything back up in its proper place. So that's what I'm attempting to do this evening with our podcast. So like I said before, I have great respect for women. There's no other person I would ever be with other than God Almighty is with a woman. She's a helpmate. She's a partner. She's your friend. She's your rib. She's your buddy. She's all those good things that she was supposed to be and was in the beginning of the garden. So all we're trying to do tonight is to try to reconstruct and to restore and to straighten out, this thing between men and women. And everybody has to have open spiritual ears and minds. Like I said before, we always go back to the root of the problem, and that's in the garden, So kind of just bear with me a little bit here, because this is a really touchy subject, I don't want to get me or my son to get any type of negative feedback from women. Thinking that we're trying to bash them, because we're not, like I said once before. So we'll go back to the garden, where it all started from, and it started that, first of all, God put Adam into a deep sleep, because when he made his creation.
Hold on real quick, Pops. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to Inspector Gadget, Josephine Copeland. What's up, baby? How you doing? Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to everybody that's watching from the clouds. Everybody tapping in with us. Y'all know how we do it on Spiritual Roots Sundays, man. Me and my pops, we getting straight to it. I'm going to fall back and, I'm going to just let my pops do his thing. And when it's time for me to interject, I will. Y'all get your notebooks ready, have your pens ready. Get your NKJ version out. If you got the digital one or the hard one, we're going to drop some scriptures and all that type of stuff, man. Tap in and walk with us, man. We're going to the spiritual roots, right? The spiritual roots of the virtuous woman. Go ahead, Pops.
All right. Now, as I was saying, when God made and created Adam in his image and his likeness, God started out creating the whole universe and his creation because he was lonely. I think I mentioned that once before in one of my past podcasts, to where that it was just him all by himself, So he decided to create and make his creation, And once he formed and created everything, then when everything came on the scene, then he noticed that when man became a living soul, God noticed that all the rest of his creation had a mate, there was male and female of all the other creation, except for Adam, which was made in the likeness and image of God, and he know that Adam was alone. And he said to himself that it is not good for man to be alone. So what he did was he put Adam into a deep sleep, and he removed one of his ribs. And the thing about that, when I was doing this study about this and this research on this, I, as usual, always get revelation on things that I haven't seen before, even though I went over it many times before. And I noticed that he didn't mention about far as flesh, other than that he took Adam and put him in a deep sleep and removed one of his ribs, and he sewed his flesh thereof. Now the thing is that what I recognized, and it was shown to me by revelation, is that that was the first operation. That was the first surgery that have ever been done on man. Okay. Then we wonder where doctors get their knowledge to know how to take care of the human body, and how to go inside the human body, and how to cut the human body. Okay.
Let me stop
Like
you right
I
there.
said before. Go ahead.
Now,
Go ahead.
Now, mind y'all, when God created man, now key words is in his image and likeness.
Right.
Right. And likeness. Right. So that lets you know that your image and your likeness is two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. He created man in his image and likeness. Right.
Right.
Now, when we get into talking about what my dad getting into now, you know what I'm saying? I want y'all to understand that when God created man, he created God in his man. God created man in his image and likeness. So that means he didn't create the flesh. Huh? Do I got something in a little bit now? Now think about that when you're thinking about anatomy, when you're thinking about body parts. Remember my pops just said that this was the first surgery, right? Mm-hmm. Now this was the first surgery, but not in the sense that we thinking. And this is why I say that Lucifer, Satan, the devil, everything that God created in perfect balance and harmony, Lucifer, Satan, the devil has an inverse. He has a distorted version of that. So when we talking about the procedure that God did when he reached in to Adam's body, right, and from his rib, you know what I'm saying? That you gotta think about, that's holy divine structure. When we talk about what we know in this reality, pharmakia. Y'all all familiar with that term, pharmakia? Mm-hmm. Pharmakia is the inverse of this. Mm-hmm. Right? Because you got to understand that when God was doing what he was doing, he wasn't doing this to flesh, to what we know as flesh. He wasn't doing this to physical, Adam's physical being. Because remember, before Adam's fall, he was spirit. When he was in the garden, he was spirit. Huh? And he was by himself.
That's right.
So, you know, so when we're thinking about this process and this procedure, you got to think about it as two. When I say two versions, I mean you have the holy, divine, balanced, and then when we got Lucifer, say the devil coming, we have the inverse to that, which is pharmakia. You understand what I'm saying, man? God didn't design you to have a dis-ease or a sickness or illness. He didn't design that, because that doesn't reside. Darkness doesn't. That's the example of darkness, and darkness does not reside in the Most High.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I want y'all to understand that when we're talking about the things we're talking about, you know, especially in relation to things like this, I want you to understand that everything that the Most High has done in perfect balance and harmony, Lucifer, saying the devil, has to have an inverse to that. And when we're talking about the procedure that took place during Adam, or to Adam, or in Adam, in order for to get the person of Eve and bring her into fruition, we have the inverse of that in our reality, which is known as pharmakia. You heard that term before, Apostle? Pharmakia?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's a Greek word meaning magic.
Greek word. Yeah. Right.
Actually, it's science, but it's magic. You know what I'm saying? So we can get it as too in the spiritual roots, as sickness and wellness too, because we're talking about all these diseases and all these so-called medicines that they have.
Right.
All these medicines, damn near all of the medicines are named after demons.
Right.
I'm talking about from Advil to Tylenol. Y'all ain't ready for that. Go ahead, Pops.
Yeah. And son, you know, that you mentioned that too, you know, like I said, we don't ever study anything before we come on our podcasts. Everything just is just natural. You know what I'm saying? And it was something how you said that what you just said about the surgery, you know, is that it don't mention even in there that God even used, you know, his flesh. But he does says from Adam recognized her when God brought Eve to Adam that he said bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. And what I found out in digging in and doing my research also is that it never mentioned that about the flesh, but because he just said that God took a rib from him, you know. But also flesh was involved to show you that that's why woman is actually the part and is part of man in every sense, because he also did use some of man's flesh as well, you know, when he was making Adam. I mean, we was making Eve. Footnote: Adam was created, all right, from the dirt, you know, of the earth, far as the physical aspect of him. Eve was made. That's a difference. Eve was made from out of Adam.
Talk to
All right.
Pop.
See.
Powerful.
Now, let's listen to this, YouTube family, because this is some really deep spiritual stuff, and we're going to go a little deeper into the rabbit hole with this, you know. Women, I pray that you have your spiritual ears open as well as your physical ears, because I do believe that this podcast will not only open up your spiritual eyes to see the value of who you really are, but also to let you know who you really are. Okay, and where you're really from. You know, this is to put that connection back with how much of man that you are. Now listen to what I'm saying. Don't take my words and run crazy with them. And when I say that, I mean in the sense of how much man you are from being made from your man. Okay,
we ain't talking about that
and
freaky
being,
funny stuff that some of y'all
okay,
might
right, we ain't talking about the freaky stuff, you know, but being made from a man. All right, the first man, you know, everything about you points back to who, and let you know, which you should never forget, that you came from up out of Adam. All right, your whole persona about you, everything about you always points back to that you came from Adam. You are a part of his rib. All right, Adam even recognized it himself when he said, not only are you bone of my bone, but flesh of my flesh.
Hold on real quick, Pops. Shout out to Lance Parker in the building, man. I had to do that one. Shout out to my brother Lance Parker, man.
See, and this is just to help you be able to understand more why it's so important for you to know your part and your role in who you are as being a woman. Okay, because there are very different facets of you, you know, of being a woman. You know, there's very different phases of you as you being a woman. See, Adam, when God made and created Adam from the dust of the earth, that was just one thing. Adam was a man. All right. When a woman is constructed of more different parts, let me say, if I can, you know, than Adam was when Adam was made and created. You know, God went a little further with the woman and completing her, you know, and making her in various different aspects of who she is, you know, to compete her for her to become a woman. She's a woman. She's a lady. She's a female. She's a helpmate. You follow what I'm saying? These are all the different hats that a woman wear. You know, Adam wears one hat, and that's him being the man. See, God made Eve to help Adam, not Adam to help Eve. Adam said,
That's gonna ruffle some feathers right there, Pops.
Huh?
That statement right there gonna ruffle some feathers right there.
Well, it might be, but I mean, the truth will set you free. I knew that when I was going into this podcast that I would be walking on eggshells. But like I said, the Holy Spirit said, do what you got to do. The truth will set them free. Either they want to be set free or they don't want to be set free, And like I said, if any women have any bones to pick with, I'll say first, before you come to me, go to God. Go to him and confront him with all this, and and I don't have no problem you using my name, saying that I said this, but I'm not passing the buck, but I'm gonna send you to him, and maybe if you can't receive it from me, maybe you'll receive it from him. Those who are spiritually enlightened and who are spiritually awoken, will understand and will see this and will accept this, But like I said, I knew that I would be going into some deep forests when I brought this subject up, and I'm not afraid of anything, So like I said, for all you women out there who think different from this, do what you have to do and bring on what you want to bring on, Like I said, I'd rather stand and deal with God than to have to back down from him and try to tickle your feathers, because he can do worse to me than you could ever do to me. So, in saying that, moving along, like I said, God made woman for man and not man for woman, So, but my point is that I'm trying to bring out with this podcast is to show you women how beautiful and how constructed that you were made and created when God made you for Adam, and to help. Same way man has to get back in his place where he's supposed to be. Woman also has to get back in her place also, because it takes both of them for it to work right anyway. But like I was saying, when God created Adam and made him, and when he said, well, it's not good for man to be alone, See, God was thinking of you anyway, when he was saying that it wasn't good for Adam to be alone, because he noticed that all the rest of his creation had their counterpart, and it also had to be that way in order for it to continue to multiply of his creation in the earth, that it took a male and a female, not two males, not two females, but one of each, a male and a female. All right. So when he decided,
I think we need to, I don't know if it coincides with tonight, but we can break that paradigm one of these days too, Dad. Because a lot of people get this confused when they say he created he, them, and they get that confused. I think that's something we need to really break down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So but we're
okay, now when I say now in the beginning, see, remember we always said, son, that God always called those things as be not as though they already were.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's why that in the beginning he said he created man and woman. Okay, that's where the creation part of him came in. That's the creative part of where she came in at. Okay, because still she came from out of Adam, and Adam was created. See, so that also makes her part of being created also too, but he took her from out of him before she became a female. She was his rib. See, the female gender part of her had not yet even been made. All right. Everything that he constructed Eve out of, it came from out of Adam, being the man and being the male. And that's why I said that he took one of Adam's ribs. It wasn't a female rib, it was a male rib. It was Adam's rib. Woman had not yet been manifested in the earth yet. Okay. So everything about a woman came directly from up out of Adam. The same way that all the rest of creation came up out of the waters. You follow me what I'm saying? Okay. See, so that when that expression is used that he created her as well, he was saying because she was a part of Adam and came from Adam, she was still created too because Adam was created, all right? And she is the very part of Adam, you know, the very essence of Adam, you know. There was nothing female or womanly about her before all that happened that what God did in taking the rib of Adam. I hope that didn't confuse anybody and sort of kind of clear that up about the creator part. We say he created male and female because it does says that, but that's the reason why that God said it like that. But my point was that I was still trying to make was that when he did that, that he said it wasn't good for him to be alone. So he said he'll make her an helpmate, you know. And that's why he took the very rib of Adam, you know. And made and formed and shaped and fashioned Eve, you know. And the woman is basically, he said that she's the weaker vessel. That's because of the order that he had for them to be with each other, her coming from up out of him, you know. And there's always an order of everything with God, you know. Why would he make Adam first the man and be him, having him the head over everything and giving him dominion over things? And then he makes and create his half of him for him, his helpmate, and have her in charge of him. See, that would be out of order of the universal law of God. So that's why he referred to her also as the weaker vessel, you know. Because when he created Adam, he had Adam in mind to be the sole strength of everything else and to run everything and to have dominion over everything and everything to be subjected of to him. Now, why would God have all the rest of his creation up under the dominion of Adam and his helpmate is the only one that supersedes him? It falls out of the line of God's universal law. But my point, what I'm saying once again, is that I'm trying to get women to understand what their role is and what their role was, you know, and what God's intentions was that when he took and put Adam in a deep sleep and when he made and formed and shaped and fashioned woman for Adam, so Adam would have a helpmate. So Adam wouldn't be alone, you know, and also that's the only way to be able to replenish and to remultiply the earth, you know, of Adam's own kind, is that he had to have a female, just like all the rest of God's creation had their counterpart, you know, the female. So he said, this is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. Now, after God put Adam into a deep sleep, like I said, and made and created, formed and shaped and fashioned woman, then he brings the woman to Adam. Adam's not even aware of the fact that God was going to even do this for him. Adam never even complained or said anything to God about where everybody else, all the rest of creation got a helpmate or got a counterpart. Where mine is at? You see what I'm saying? It's not like Adam came to God and confronted him about, well, why I don't have a counterpart like all the rest of creation have. No, God saw himself that Adam was alone and it wasn't good for him to be alone. You follow me what I'm saying, you two family? Then he also said, because I think he remembered that how it was when he was all by himself before he created anything, you know, and how it felt to be alone or to be lonely, you know. That's the human compassion of God that he had also, even as being a spirit. That's why I say God is awesome. God is deep, you know. But moving right along, so when he decided to do this for Adam, and after he made and fashioned and formed woman, you know, then he presented her to Adam, you know. And when Adam saw her, he immediately recognized who she was. And you know why he recognized who she was? And this is revelation. Because he recognized who he was. He saw himself in her. He knew that she was from him and a part of him and from him. That's why he said, this is bone of my bone. This is flesh of my flesh. The same way when you look in the mirror at yourself, you immediately recognize who you are. You immediately recognize, hey, this is me. This is of myself. And that's what he did when God brought Eve to him. And when he saw her. Now, how could he know that it was him or of him or from him when God put him in a deep sleep? Adam was knocked out. He didn't know what was going on with him. And my son brings it out when he said that it was a spiritual surgery. And it was. Because there was no scars on Adam after God took and opened him up and took the rib out of him and closed him back up. So it was a spiritual surgery as well as a physical surgery. But he recognized Eve as soon as God brought her to him. Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. He said, I shall call her woman. God didn't call Eve woman or said she was a woman. Adam called her woman and said, this is woman. He recognized where he,
I said, that's
that's
powerful
deep.
right there.
Yes, that's deep. That's deep. That's how much of her that she was and is of him, to where that when he saw her for the first time, that's how he recognized that it was a part of him, because he said it was bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. And I'll call her woman. Now, I don't, when I did this, and I noticed the word woman, I didn't go into detail and even looking up what woman means, because it's going to have various different variations of what woman is. I relied on the Holy Spirit to give me the revelation of what a woman is and why Adam said woman.
Especially nowadays, Pops, man, because nowadays they done switched the whole definition of woman up, man. You know what I'm talking about? With this fun boy stuff, with this fruit boy stuff, man, with this all LGBTQ, LMNOP, barbecue committee agenda stuff. You know what I'm talking about? Go ahead.
Right. Now, and being humorous about it,
that's no problem with it, man.
The man will say that woman means woe unto man. See, that's the humor part of it, what man says. But no, that's just, I don't think that was right to even use as a joke. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing greater than it is than a woman being a woman, you know. But what the Holy Spirit revealed to me was that the way that it's more important of how the word is spelled, WOMAN. Okay. And that still goes and stands back. This is what the Holy Spirit told me what it was. You ain't gonna find it in no dictionary in man's, theology, okay, of what this word is. This is straight out the spiritual realm, that what the Holy Spirit put in my spirit to tell me why that Adam said woman and why it's spelled WOMAN. It really stands for, you drop the W and it just stands for one man. Still one man. She's still from one man. That's what woman means. One. Oneness. All right. Not no two, but one. And something else I'm gonna share with you a little later on in the podcast about that. You know, even when they speak about far as in the marriage vows, you know, when it says that and the two shall become flesh, you know, which God also said that, that this is woman. And he said that when a man leaves his mother and his father, anybody read that in the word of God? Okay. This is what God said as far as when it comes to about a husband and wife and a man and woman. It says that whenever a man, and say when a woman leaves her parents, okay, it says when a man leaves his parents and to take on a woman to be his wife. Then when they bind together, then the two shall become one. I don't know if anybody's familiar with saying that in the Word of God. So I wish he can pull that up, but yes. In fact, it's somewhere in Genesis. I know that he speaks of that because this is all still in the part of when he, when he made woman and took woman out, took the rib of man and made woman for Adam, okay? And that's why Adam says also ties into that when he said, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, you know. And I shall call her woman, you know, because she was taken from up out of me. Basically what Adam was saying. Adam knew that she came from him. She knew that he was a part of his rib, okay? And from his rib and from his flesh. But when all that happened, then when he came and presented Eve to Adam, Adam took over from that point on any and everything that had to do with Eve, okay? He even said that she is the mother of all life and living, because Adam knew that out of all the rest of the multiplying the creation of mankind would come from her. That's a deep, heavy responsibility you women have. I'm going to say that again. This is how important and how deep you women are, to where that y'all are the very ones responsible for bringing the rest of mankind into living and into this earth. Because you are the life of a man. You hear that, women? You didn't bring life into Adam, but every other human being after Adam and you the one that brought it into existence, into this earth atmosphere. That's greater than any other title that a woman or anybody else could ever have bestowed upon them. Is that you are the mother of all life, of the human race. Without you, there could be no human race. And you bring in males and females. This is how important you was, and look through the eyes of Adam. Because Adam bestowed that upon you when he saw you. When God brought you to him, he said, this is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. I shall call you woman. You are the mother of all life, and give life to all of the rest of the human race. When God said, be fruitful and multiply, he knew Adam couldn't do it by itself. This is how unique you are, women. And like I said, it don't get into great detail about the relationship that Adam and Eve had before the fall. It don't even give much depthness of information about even what happened after the fall. But we know that after the fall, that everything began to start going astray. Now, when you look back in the Old Testament days, it gives sort of a roadmap of how the relationship between man and woman began to start going astray. All right. That's why I say that we all are accountable for our actions and everything that we do. So women, when I say that you are accountable for your actions, you can't get mad at me and get an attitude because it's a negative thing that I'm saying, and how the astray went about, you know, because you played the major role in it. It was you that the serpent went to. It was you that took the first step in causing the fall to come about being. Because when God told Adam of all the trees of the garden that he could partake of, that it was this one that he should not partake of, you was right there with him, hearing everything what God was telling Adam, he was telling you too also, woman. It wasn't like Adam had to come back and tell you everything what God said him not to do. You both were standing right there listening to what God said. God was talking to the both of y'all. Am I right? Because once the serpent got your attention, God didn't say, Adam, the day you eat of this, you shall surely die. God didn't say, Adam, that out of all the trees that you say, he told them that you both. He always included you as well as he included Adam because you both was there together. When God put that law and told you that don't touch that particular tree. Okay. And the thing about it is that throughout the whole duration of when the fall was taking place, Adam was right next there with you. He was still right there with you. You both were together throughout the whole fall. It wasn't like he was somewhere else in part of the garden doing something and you somewhere else. No, you both was together the whole time doing this whole thing transpiring with the tree. But it was the serpent, which was Satan, using the serpent's body that got woman's attention. He spoke to the woman. Now that's something to look at and to kind of ponder on a little bit. Why, if both of them is right there at the tree, why didn't the serpent speak to Adam? But instead he spoke to the woman. Because, one, he knew that Eve was the weaker part of Adam. He knew that Eve would get his attention more than Adam. Thirdly of all, he knew that Adam had the dominion and the power over him and everything else in the garden. So he knew that, I believe, if he would have went to Adam first, the fall would have never took place. Because Adam was the strongest one. Adam was the one that had all the power, all the dominion, all the authority over everything. All right. Now notice, and this is revelation. This is hot off the press. Serpent knew through the devil that Adam had the power and the authority and the dominion. The woman didn't. That's one of the reasons why he went to the woman. He knew the woman didn't have no dominion and no power and no authority over him. Because she was the weaker vessel. That was his loophole. That was his way of knowing that he would be able to at least attempt to start to be able to deceive the woman. If it was going to work for him, he knew he had to go to the woman. So that's why he did go to the woman, you know. She don't have no power and no authority over me. That was given to the man, not to her. So when he spoke to her, when she answered him back, he knew he had her. If she wouldn't have never responded back to him when he spoke to her and got her attention, and she would have said, well, talk to my husband, you know, or Adam, you know, he didn't step up. It's always been the question why he didn't step up. He's watching all this. That's something else to look into. And it'll come to me before this podcast is out, but I just threw that out there because it just came to me just like that. Why he didn't speak up, you know. But the point is that he spoke to the woman. And she didn't have to respond back to him, but she did, you know. Because she should have did what women's supposed to do, as is supposed to be in anyway, is that leave it to the man, because the man is the head. But she decided to respond back. And when she did, he knew that he had her then, because he had her attention. Then he began saying what God said, what they couldn't do or shouldn't do. Now she heard everything what God told him, her, and Adam about the tree. Do not eat of it. And that's all he said. Do not eat of it, because in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. That was all God said to them about that tree. But this is what the serpent does, because he's a liar and the truth ain't in him. He said it ain't true. You won't die. That's the first lie. The second lie was that he told him that God don't want you to touch it. God never mentioned nothing about them touching it. He just said, do not eat from it. Then he also told her that he know that if you do eat of it, and the reason why he don't want you to eat of it, because he know that your eyes will be open and you will be coming and known as gods, knowing good and evil. Told the woman what she would be knowing. Basically told the woman what would happen if she did partake of it. All the things that would happen to her. Her eyes will be open. She would be known as just like she's a god. And she also would know good and evil. He told her all that out of the conversation. She still had a choice to not to even partake of it. She still could have turned to her husband and said, well, is this right, Adam? But she listened to all that, to what he told her. He was seducing her then. Remember I said that before in a couple of my podcasts about the seduction? All right. See, people speak a whole lot about the fall, but they never say nothing about that it was a seduction. He seduced her. With the three main things that what he was trying to get her to recognize and to see, and what would be revealed to her once she partook of that fruit. And that was the lust of her eyes, the lust of her flesh, and the pride of life. And that's what helped brought the seduction into existence more, to where that she even more so wanted to partake of it. And that's why she did. And when she did, the very thing that what the devil said what would become upon her and what she would know and what would happen to her then took place. Her physical eyes was open. She was then seeing things the way that the devil through the serpent's eyes was seeing the way that the world was then. Because then she had a part of him and his nature in her.
Now, let me say this real quick, Pops.
Go ahead, son.
The R complex didn't come from Adam's DNA.
No, it did not.
Let me repeat this again. We all have what is known as the R complex. I've stood up here and broke this down to y'all many a times. So I'm not about to pull it up on the screen or nothing like that. Y'all can do that for your own leisure if y'all want to. Just Google the R complex and tap on the images, and it's going to bring you many different images of where and what the R complex is in the human brain. Is the oldest part of the human brain, right? Quite obviously. And the R complex is like I said, it doesn't originate through Adam's DNA, right? But you gotta remember, Adam was spirit, made in the image and likeness of the Most High God. You understand what I'm saying? But Eve was not made in God's image. She was made or created or formed out of what Adam already was in his spirit. But when she came in contact with the serpent, right? A lot of y'all don't understand this, man. When we talk about a serpent, like, do you actually think that this was an actual snake crawling on the ground? Now, if you want to believe that, you can. That's you can believe what you want to believe.
Right,
When we're talking
right,
about
right.
the serpent, you know what I'm saying? For one, LSD is a shapeshifter. A shapeshifter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he has the ability to change his form, right? Now, when we're talking about this right here with this DNA, this R complex, like I said, didn't originate with Adam because Adam doesn't have any of the DNA of LSD in him. He was made in the image and likeness of the Most High God, where Lucifer was only made in the likeness of God.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So think about that, man. The only reason why the rest of us have a R complex is due to Eve's contact with the serpent. Because up until this point, Adam had no contact with the serpent. Adam didn't have contact with the serpent until Eve brought the fruit to his awareness.
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful, right? Go ahead, Pops.
Yeah, and like I was saying, son, adding that on to what you were saying, and that's right. You know, when you look at it in that way, because like I said, once she was able to seduce Eve into partaking of the fruit, you know, and what it did was that it brought about the change that of the three very things that what happened was the lust of the eye and the pride of life. Now the changes from the results of the fall that it had on Eve. Okay. So you have to understand that when the fall took place, it had effect on each person or each one that was a participant of the fall. Remember, we went through this once before. You know, God, he went to the serpent, you know, and told the serpent, because you allow for the devil to use your body. See, the serpent, he was an upright creature, you know. No, he wasn't a man, you know. I don't know what type of creature that he was, but he wasn't a man. But
Bro,
he wasn't also like one of the other creatures that God also had created and had in the earth either. You know,
what's up,
I
Brownie?
don't
How you
think it
doing,
was.
baby? Hold on
I
real
don't
quick,
think it
Pops.
was so much of. Uh-huh.
So I just wanted to acknowledge, bro. I just wanted to, I like when people come out like that. Acknowledge. Brownie, what's up, baby? How you doing, man? Thanks for tapping in, walking
Okay.
with us, man. You know, Spiritual Roots Sunday, the spiritual roots of the virtuous woman. Let's go.
Okay. But like I said, it doesn't mention what type of creature that it was, but all I know is that it was an upright creature, you know. It was some type of a creature to where that it interacted with Eve like it did, you know, and God know what he was doing, you know, when it happened and when he allowed for it to happen that way. But the point was that it wasn't what it was afterwards when the fall took place, because God went to it and God cursed him or cursed it and said that you would go on your belly now, you know, and crawl from the dust of the earth, you know. Then he went to Adam. No, he went to Eve. Then after he went to Eve, he told her what would happen to her. He went to each one. He went to the Eve. He went to the serpent. He went to the devil inside of the serpent. And the only thing he did with the serpent was he told him that, you know what, cause you did all this, he said, I'm gonna deal with you later on up the road though. You know, and the only thing he really brought to the serpent was that, I mean to the devil, was that, you know, the seed that is in you, you know, and in the woman, you know, that it's gonna be a division, and my seed is gonna crush your seed's head. Now your seed just gonna bruise the heel of my seed. And he never said names, not far as terms of Christ and the devil. He said seeds. He was saying, using still the terminology seed. He said, my seed will crush your seed's head. He wasn't talking about nothing that nobody else. He wasn't talking about a person, a human being, a spirit being. He still was referring to that conversation as a seed. All right. That's something that was going to take place later on up the road. But he dealt with each and every one of them, all right, according to what they did and the part that they played in the fall. So that's why that I said to you women that it's not that I'm just picking on you only, you know, but I'm just basically just bringing out what your part was in it and your consequences and what happened to you, you know, because it did change and affect everybody that took place in the garden with the fall, you know. And the changes that took place with the woman was that it opened up her eyes first physically, you know. And it said that with the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, and the pride of life. Now, the reason why I didn't mention about that like that in that order and those three particular changes, because those were the three changes that took place in her. All right. It took place in Adam too. But see, but the changes that took place in Eve wasn't the same changes that took place in Adam. It affected both of them in their own different ways. That's why the devil, using the serpent's body, went to the woman. Don't you know that the serpent saw Eve's body in the way that Eve did not see it at first before the fall? He saw the lust of her body because he was lusting after it. He saw the lust of her flesh because he was lusting for her flesh. Revelation. He saw the pride of life in her because his pride was the cause for him to do what he wanted to do in accomplishing his goal in her and causing the fall to come about. Those was all the characteristics of what was in him as being the evil seed. And he knew once he would be partaker of that, that once she had that part of himself in her, then it would affect her and spread in her, and it would bring the same results to her. And that's what it did. It opened up her physical eyes. It woken her up to her flesh. And it causes for her to be vain, which is what the word vanity means. Okay. Men stuck on yourself, you know, men thinking that you all this and you all that. And when the fall took place and when she partook of that fruit and when her eyes physically was open, she saw her body, she saw herself in a whole different light. To this day right now, women have been suffering from that curse and that fall from the garden from this point on. It has been happening and getting worse and worse every day in this day that we live in. Now, what you talking about, Brother Barry? What you mean, Senior Barry, when you saying that? Okay, the lust of the flesh. Women are hung up on their flesh. They're hung up on their bodies. When you look at the industry today, that's why man makes so much money off of women. Women products. Everything is about woman. When you get into the retail business, when you get into about clothing, when you get into about fashion, look at the makeup industry. Look how much money people in the makeup industry make off of women. Look at the clothing industry. Fashions. In the Old Testament, women was covered up with clothing. In the day we live in, there's no clothing. Look at the vast change that have took place over the decades and the eons of times and dispensation of times with women. How they started out. That's all I'm saying, women. I'm trying to get you to see the pattern of what happened when it all started in the beginning and the way it was when it started out in the beginning and to where you women are at today in this day and time. Women used to have morality. They did. Women used to respect themselves. Women used to be shy. Women used to be mysterious. They used to cover themselves up. They used to have their morals, their moral values. Even when it comes to the opposite sex, you couldn't just talk to a woman any kind of way back then, even in the biblical days. In the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, even the 60s, the early 70s. It really didn't start going crazy and astray until the mid 80s and late 80s and the 90s, and then up to where we at right now. The vast change that had took place with women. And that's all that I try to share with you women, is to let you see that if you think it's right for the miraculous change that you have been going through over the dispensation of times, with who you are as being a woman and being representing of being a woman, and if you think you have not fallen far off of the scale, then something really is wrong. Something really is wrong. In the biblical days, a woman wasn't even heard. She knew her place. She was submissive to her husband. She was subjective unto her husband. She was respectful and faithful and true to her husband. She was obedient to her husband. That's one of the changes that took place in the garden too, that what happened that when the fall took place, disobedience. Because that's what happened when she did partake of that. More so than just that she just took of it when he told her not to, but it was disobedience. She disobeyed God. And she partook of it anyway. And everything that what she did far as not doing what God asked her to not to do, when she did that, she not only not did it to God, but she also did it to Adam. Because she was disobedient to Adam. How was she disobedient to Adam? Because when the serpent came to her and began to talk to her, she should immediately came to Adam. She knew she's supposed to come to Adam. She knew she wasn't supposed to touch it anyway. But if she would have been obedient like she was supposed to be, even in doubt, she would have came to Adam. So when she didn't come to Adam, that was being disobedient right there to him, because he would have told her that no, this is not what you're supposed to do, you know.
See what I just said? See what I just said earlier, Josephine? I told you the actual partaking, intaking, consumption of the fruit, that's not, it went wrong right here. This is where things went wrong for the left, when Eve did not listen to her man. Soon as she seen this strange creature being in the gardens, her off top, she's supposed to go tell Adam, right? Like, hold on, before you say or do anything, I engage in any form of exchange of conversation with you, we gotta go get my man's. And she didn't do that. She did not do that. Go ahead, Pops.
And that was something that the Holy Spirit just revealed to me when I was doing this studying and breakdown of this. It was that the first change was disobedience, which led me to see and get a more understanding of why now that women today are so disobedient to men, and why they disobey men, and why they had no respect for men. All the things that what I said that what a woman had in the beginning with her man and for her man, even for God. You know, even God first, really. you know, then man, you know. But by her disobeying God, then that automatically made it to where that she would be disobedient to Adam. So after she partook of this and the fall took place and her eyes was physically open, then she saw her body in a whole different way. Her whole attitude changed. Her whole disposition changed. Her whole moral value changed. Her characteristics changed. Everything about her changed. And the main three things that would start manifesting in her then more than anything else was the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, and the pride of life. And that stands today with women. Now make me out of a liar. That's the same thing with women today. Their bodies. They are in love with their bodies.
My body, my choice.
And they are in love and they use their flesh. How am I lying? And vanity. You can't tell a woman she ain't this and she ain't that because she thinks she all this and she all that. Now, those are the main three things that manifested in her in the garden when she partook of that, and it's been with her ever since. And those are the attributes and the characteristics of Satan.
Now let me
the evil part of the seed.
Here we go. Y'all know, man, me and my pops, man. Y'all know we go in, man. We're gonna go in, all right? You know what I'm talking about now. You hear me? Because a lot of people get this confused if they are aware of the paradigm or they're not even aware of such a paradigm exists. All right. Now, when we're talking about this whole thing we're talking about right now, you gotta put your spiritual.
Son, I'm gonna step out for son. Let me step out for a minute.
Okay, but I run to the bathroom or something real quick, Pops.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You must know. Yes,
sir. Take care of your business. Take care of your business, man. Yes, Uncle Diggity in the building. What's good? Everything is about a vibe or a feeling, right? Everybody want to be on these vibes. It's a vibe, right? It's just a vibe. We wasn't vibing, all right? Eve was made not in the image of God, but formed out of the image and likeness of God in Adam. Now, she wasn't created. She was formed. I want y'all to understand the difference. Adam was created. Eve was formed. Right? And that right there made her the weaker vessel. Right? And her being the weaker vessel, not being in the likeness and image of God. This is an ill paradigm. You gotta say that the Most High has to bless you with the over inner understanding to understand this. You hear me? God created man in his likeness and image, but woman, Eve, was not created in the likeness and image of God. She was created out of Adam. Formed, I should say, out of Adam.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Because a lot of people say this. So, was Eve created in God's image and likeness? No. And the answer to that question is no. But you have to have your spiritual eyes on and your spiritual thinking on to be able to over and understand why and how. Huh? You hear me? This is the reason why. This is the reason why Adam had dominion over everything.
Right.
So when we have these type of discussions, man, it's not about so much about no bash or anything about that. It's just proper order instruction. Like I say this. Now, if you don't believe such a thing, then What difference does it make then, right? But since a lot of y'all call yourself Christians, right? It's only right that we have to bring y'all the actual scriptures, man, and break them down the way they were intended to be. Because you have to have the like I said, you have to have the over, inner, outer understanding to get this stuff when you see it. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, Pops.
Yeah. And also too, son, I just want women to just recognize that what is being said is not being fabricated and it's not being maliciously being untrue, and we're not lying, because women, you know yourself that if you go back and just look over from what happened from in the garden to how Eve was to how we are now today with women in the world. Okay, look at, like I said, look at the fashion industry, look at the makeup industry, look at the money that you women spend on makeup. I mean, all three of the things that I said, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, and the pride of life, manifest in you women constantly. I mean, how can you deny that it's not true? How am I fabricating a line about what I'm saying when the money that you spend on yourself, how you so hung up on your bodies, okay? And how that when you get the attention that you get, that if it's not vanity, that you even jealous among each other, that's vanity. How you slang and how you talk about each other, That's why I said that everyone suffered the fall in the way that they suffered the fall by the part that they played in it. Now, Adam, man is nothing like woman. Men have their little parts that they have, because we do what we do as being men. But women, you could never compare us to y'all. There's no comparison to a man to a woman other than the opposite sex. That's all. The genders. That's it. As far as the personality and the characteristics, it's supposed to be different. And it is different. Men, if a man get hung up on his body, far as how he look and everything, that is because that he has some of that seed of the evil in him, that to where that he's kind of swinging a little bit Jeff to the left of me. Because anytime a man get into his personal looks, how he look, that's vanity still. But that still comes from a woman, because a man, sometimes the man don't care how he look.
That's very
and what
feminine.
I mean by that is, and what I mean by that, before I start getting all kind of screaming in my ears that I'm hearing now from out there in YouTube land, is that I'm saying that a man that is a real man is a man, okay? He cares about how he looks, but he's not into it in a vain way, like women are. Okay, now, and the only way that he hung up on how he look like he look, if he got a little bit of tutti frutti in him, okay? Because a man ain't gonna get that in depth into his physical looks like women get into their looks, okay? About how they look, all right? And unless, like I said, unless you on the other side of the fence, then men will go that route like women go, okay? But for a straight man, a straight man ain't gonna go that route, okay? Because I'm a straight man and I care about how I look, but I'm not all hung up in my looks like women are, okay? Or like men that claim to be men, get all hung up into their self, because gay men, they have the same vanity that women have about their looks. Straight men don't.
That's that Jezebel spirit, man. I told you that's
what I'm saying.
That's transsexual.
And the reason why
hey, hold on, Pops. Remember I just told y'all that LSD is a chameleon and a shapeshifter?
That's right. That's right. He changes. That's what a chameleon does.
You hear me? So y'all think about that, man. Think about that when we're thinking about this transgender agenda, which is really the Baphomet agenda, right? which is the twofold paradigm. All right, one of the mind of. See, this thing got so many levels and layers to it, right? You know what I'm saying? Because you got the threefold paradigm of Lucifer, Satan, the devil, which is three separate entities, all residing and abiding in one entity, right? Another inversion of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. You hear me? Another inversion. But even within that inversion, you got the mind of the devil or the Satan, Lucifer. You know what I'm saying? Satan, which breaks up into two different psyches with this whole Baphomet thing, right? This shape shifting thing. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. You know what I mean? There's just so many levels and so many aspects to this whole thing that like I say, man, this is where the whole multiple personality disorder and all that stuff. This is where all this stuff comes from. It comes from the sick, polluted, perverted mind of LSD, right? So that's just powerful, man. Go ahead, Pops.
Yeah, but like I was saying though, all I'm trying to do is to bring to recognition the vast change that had took place in the garden. And like I said, specifically, I'm talking about women, which I refer to Eve because this is what the topic is about. It's about women, okay? It's about, first of all, a virtuous woman. Now, we're going to get to that, what a virtuous woman is, okay? Because that's the foundation. That's in the garden. That's the whole beginning of where it all happened, what a woman was at first, and the way that a woman is supposed to be, but how far that she has strayed from where she originally started out to be. All right. So I'm just laying part of the foundation of what has happened after the fall, okay? And to where that a woman is at now in the day that we live in. To show you that's just how far from off the grid she have became or come from. And she act like that she don't understand or she can't see it, but it's so much in front of them. And when I say women, I don't speak of one individual woman. I'm speaking of women, period. The whole gender of women. Female women is who I'm referring to, okay? Just like that, if and I'm gonna do one on Adam, on man, so don't think that I'm just getting the men off the hook, okay? Because we have our responsibility and we have our role that we played also too, you know, and our change took place in us after the fall. But right now, we're talking about women, okay? Because this is something that I feel that need to be dealt with. If anything's gonna happen to where that men and women can be able to become one again and get back on the scale that they supposed to be on before the fall, then that's why I'm stepping out on eggshells and bringing this broadcast and this podcast to you two family and to all those who have ears to hear right now. And I know that it's a dangerous and it's a very, very, very serious topic, you know, but it has to be dealt with. And I'm gonna deal with it in a way that I feel that it should be dealt with in truth, you know, because it's not so much about what I think and what I feel and the way that it should be, but it's about the way that it was and the way that it should become back to being again. All right. So I don't expect any help from no woman. I really don't, except for those that who truly know and accept the truth. All right. Because if you got the three main things working in you, you know, the lust of your flesh, the lust of your eyes, and the pride of life, you're not gonna receive this no way, you know, because you already far out there, so far out there that you refuse to want to see anything else that could be right, all right, or that is true, all right. But for those that who want to be set free, all right, and those who want to know the truth, then their ears and their eyes will open and they will hear and receive what I'm saying. Because when you go back to the foundation and go back to the roots of everything, then you have to admit that something did go astray, you know, and something is not right and something is not the way that it was before. All right. And just like I said before, when you look now into the minds of a woman and the way her perception and her thoughts is about herself today, and it stands true to be true, just by her actions and the way that it is with her right now, how can you deny and say that it's not what it is? That's what I can't understand. If you see truth in the face and you refuse to accept truth, that means you don't want to know truth, you know. And like I said, proof. What is the proof? The proof is, look how much money that women spend on themselves today. Look how women are hung up on their bodies today. Look how vain that they are. They can't stand one another. Men have no problem getting along with each other unless it's a fallout about something. Other than that, men gets along well. It don't matter about the color, even the age, really. It don't, you know. A bunch of males can get together, and it's very, very rarely that they have and bump heads with each other about something. But for the most of it, men get along real well with one another. If I'm a liar, let me know I'm a liar. But you get two women together. It don't even have to be a whole bunch of them. It can just be two women you get together, and they'll start off all right, being all right with each other. But eventually, before you know it, that vanity will step in, that fresh thing will step in with them, and their visions will step in with them. And what I mean by that is that when they begin to start seeing each other, a woman cannot even compliment another woman and be really truthful in their heart about it, unless they really besties or friends. But for the stuff, a woman will give another woman a compliment in her face and say that she looks all this and she looks all that, and in the same thought pattern, she telling her she looked like this, she looked like that. And I'm not making this up, and it hurts me that women are like that with each other. You know. And it's just to open up women's eyes to see how far that they came from the grid, like I said. Now, I laid that part of this foundation to show you how and where and why women are the way they are and why they're where they're at today. But thank God that all women are not like that today, because there is still the existence of a virtuous woman. All right. That what started out in the beginning. Like I said, it don't give into detail about what happened between Adam and Eve in the garden before the fall, the relationship that they had. And it don't give into it a lot after. But it does still leave a pattern of how women were and were being back in those days and how they got off grid. But I want to concentrate now on how they were, and the ones that were, and the ones that still is, because they are still out there. There are still some virtuous women out there in our world today, you know, that started out from the foundation of what it was back in the biblical days. I made a listing, and some of y'all, if y'all want to, y'all can go through it yourselves. But all through the Old Testament and the New Testament, that it speaks of a virtuous woman. You know,
I'm about to read Uncle Diggity's comment real quick, Pops, while you go ahead and get yourself together. Most are finding comfort and solace in illusion because the actual is ugly for them. LSD actually had to deliver for them to gain a better grip. Their unwillingness to snap out of it is selfish. Yeah. I gotta say that. Like I say, y'all have synced and linked, right, with the frequency of the mind and thoughts of Lucifer, Satan, the devil. And to answer your question, Josephine, my dad kind of just did that. You know what I'm saying? Let me put it on the screen for you, possibly can see it. There are are women virtuous in today's society as a whole? Absolutely not. Now, are there still some virtuous women? Of course there are. Very little, though. The overwhelmingly mass majority of the female population in this reality have been consumed by the Jezebel spirit. to
Mm-hmm.
some degree at some point in time. So consumed with the Jezebel spirit that
Right.
so I'm talking about so consumed with it to the point to where when it's brought to the awareness, just like any other demon, it get agitated. And this is where the rebellions come from. This is where the haughtiness comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And then they disguised it under things like femininity or feminism, sexual freedom revolution movements, women's rights movements.
Exactly.
Which is all, when you do your research into the people who originated and created these ideologies, they were on demon time. So all of this stuff, like I say, feminism or femininity and masculinity, y'all know that don't come from the Most High. Y'all know that. Need to break that down for one of the day, Paul. Y'all know God didn't create masculinity and femininity. Y'all know that, right?
And not only that, son, but when you get into looking at, as time and dispensation of time move on, how the seed of Satan of knowing evil began to start really working and spreading in women.
Right.
Okay. Through the dispensation of ages of times, then when you come up with, when you look back in, like I said, in the biblical days, how women carry themselves. It wasn't so much that a woman was virtuous. Now, this is what a virtuous woman is. All right. Because there's a whole chapter in Proverbs, chapter 31 of Proverbs, starting at verse 10. All the way, I think, to verse 31. It speaks about what a virtuous woman is. All right. Now, to me, when it says a virtuous woman, these are the natural foundations and the manifestations of what a woman was, period. This is what I believe the way Eve was before the fall, being to Adam. All right. Now I'm getting answers of things that I didn't know at first in the beginning of this podcast, to now as I'm getting into what a virtuous woman is, that it'll begin to start being shown why a woman and how a woman fell so far off the grid of who and what she was, because I believe that every woman is supposed to be a virtuous woman. All right. It's a part of their nature. It's just a part of who they is as being a woman, and these are the very different characteristics, and attributes of what a virtuous woman is, what a virtuous woman represents, to the lady that answered the question, is there virtuous women in our society today? Yes, I believe that there are. They're not like that they're supposed to be in the totality of numbers. But yes, there are some still that I think that are in existence in our world today, and in our age and in our day, But like my son said, because of the Jezebel spirit, that a lot of them, are off that trail, And this is a part of what I attempt to try to do in the goodness of being a man, because that I care for my tender gender, and I do, women as a whole, same way that I do care about men as a whole, because the main thing is for us to restore and to rebuild back the relationship that man and woman had in the beginning, because it affects everything else about us, and who we are as being human beings. It affects the family unit, it affects the man, it affects the children, it affects everything and everybody about us, So that's why I said that everyone has their part that they play, and everybody has to step up to the plate to do what they need to do and help to restore and to heal and to rebuild and to restore this whole thing between man and woman. Bottom line. But like I said, in Proverbs 31, it speaks about what a virtuous woman is. Now, I also looked it up, and there are 20 amazing women in the Bible that I feel that sets an example to one degree or the other of what constitutes what a virtuous woman is. And it's in the New Testament and Old Testament. you know. And I'm just going to read them off real quick, you know. In the New Testament, it was Mary, the mother of Jesus. In the Old Testament, it was Ruth, the Moabite. In the New Testament, it was Mary Magdalene. Now, let me stop here about Mary Magdalene because she had the Jezebel spirit. But how she became an amazing woman was that when she came into the acknowledgement of knowing Christ, and when Jesus entered into her life, she changed her life. She gave her life to Christ, you know. And that Jezebel spirit that she once had, she no longer had, because when she saw who and what she was through Christ, then she said no, and her heart changed, you know. So she was able to reconform back to having that virtuous woman spirit in her. All right. That's why I got Mary Magdalene in here, but she was still an amazing woman, because it goes to show you that even though you get off, even though you go astray, you can still always come back into who and what you really are, you know. And it goes to show you that all women don't have to stay and have and keep that Jezebel spirit, because Mary Magdalene was an example of being one. All right. In her day, in Christ's day, and she was transformed. She was changed. Then there's Rachel of the Old Testament. There's Hannah of the Old Testament. Hannah was the one that I told you that was with Elijah, you know, his mother. Then there's Eve, the mother of life in the garden. That's Old Testament. Old Testament, Deborah. Old Testament, Esther. I don't know how many people know these different women in the Bible, but women, look them up and read about them. The Old Testament, Miriam. She was the Moses' older sister. Then you got Sarah, the wife of Abraham. Hagar, she was Sarah's servant, the Old Testament. The Old Testament, Abigail. The New Testament, Elizabeth, the mother of John the Baptist. And Priscilla in the New Testament, in the book of Corinthians, you know, being a part of the body of Christ. These are very just different women that I just read off from the Old to the New Testament to show you that they are amazing women, and that all women don't have the Jezebel spirit, and that it shows you that there are great women in the Bible, and there are great women still in the world today that we live in. So it's not always just bashing about just the negative part of or the side of a woman, but it also is to show you that there are good parts and there are good women in the world today. I know there's good women in the earth today, but just like in the way that what God was saying was that about the 99 sheep, and it's the one that went astray. He's not so much worried about the ones that didn't go astray. It's the ones that do go astray. And that's all that I'm saying right now. And speaking of in terms of about the way that our women are in our day today, you know, that having that Jezebel spirit, you know, I've had my experience in my life with women, so I can also feel like that I have a right to speak about it too, because it's not like that I had not had no experience with a woman before, because I've been married 3 times, you know. I've had experience with women, with the tender gender in my life, on and off in my life. So I do have some right to speak about it and to speak on it. I know the relationships that I've had and what I've been through and experienced with some of the relationships.
Man, pause, man. Hey, not the tender gender, man.
That's what I call a woman, because she is the tender gender. She's the weaker vessel.
Tender gender, man.
Yeah. So it ain't what people think that I say, and what I mean when I say the tender gender. See, that's today's people's language. You know, that it don't apply to me. You know, when you say a tender gender to me, that's speaking about the female gender. That's the only tender gender that I know. You know. But like I was saying, I understand what you're saying too, son, but hey, old school don't change for new school. You know, old school adapts to new school, you know, because what old school say meant back then, what it mean to me, old school today, it still means the same to me today, you know. And the tender gender is referring to a woman, a female, the opposite sex of me, okay? It's not in that LBGQ barbecue thing. What's going on? I'm not in that circle, you know. So when I say certain things, you know, that's what I mean by when I said it. I don't have no problem correcting it and making it known what I mean. But I also know when not to use that particular thing too. Okay.
Right. You know, I just gotta mess with you, Foz, man.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you do. You know, but I've always been a ladies' man. All right. I've been around women all my life. My mama was a woman. Okay. Yeah. So, excuse me. I just like to be able to know that, you know, it's time for women to wake up, you know, and it's for them to know that they are more greater than what that the enemy makes them think that they are now, you know, and not to see yourselves as you see yourselves now, the way that you are, because that's not the real you. That's what I'm saying, ladies. That's what I'm saying to women, you know, that go back to the basic foundations and the principle of how God created and made you from the beginning, okay? And his concept of who you are and what you are as being who you are, you know, and let you see how much representation that you have in and the effect of what you have over not only just men, but just life itself, you know, to get you to understand and to see the important role that you play in this world, you know, on this earth, you know, to the human race, you know. Your mother Eve was the mother of all life of the human race, but she also passed that on to you. Same way that Adam passed on his rights and who he is to the man, also Eve passed it on to you as being the woman. And you still have to hold that position. You know, you still have to honor that position. You still have to carry that position right like you're supposed to, you know. Women, you have experienced so much since the fall, like men have, but even more so than men. And you, being a woman, knowing who you are, knowing where you at, knowing what your life is about, knowing how, and the sad part about it is that the various opposition that you get from who and what you are and about is from the very ones that you came from out of. Now isn't that something? Because the rest of creation don't treat you like the way who you came from and who you came out of, which is man. That's where the worst part of your warfare is from men. But why? How can a man love his woman, which is really, in essence, is a part of loving himself, out of nowhere just seem like totally turn on her and against her and treat her in the way that he treats her in the day that we live in today? People, it's time to wake up, men and women, to see something is very wrong with this whole concept right now between men and women, you know, and start recognizing what the fall caused back in the beginning and where it has come to and be today with us, with each other, you know. You got men that's bashing women. Men don't care how they do women. Women don't care how they do men. Men do anything to a woman and a woman do anything to a man. We're fighting against each other. We're destroying and tearing each other apart because we left our original roles of who we're supposed to be and who we are, not only with each other, but towards each other and for each other. We even took the marriage vows and just tore it up. It ain't even what it was before. Just everything was started out originally what it was supposed to be, the blueprint for man and woman. It's nothing like that now. And you don't know that doing that and letting that be effective to us, that is also destroying the rest of creation and the rest of world and mankind.
Totally
It's
out
not
of
just
line.
affecting, yeah, it's not just affecting a one-on-one, it's affecting the whole totality of the whole of everything of mankind. It's destroying the whole structure of mankind, the whole life of mankind. Just man being against women and women being against men. That was the main goal that the Satan wanted to happen in the garden. And to a degree, we couldn't have stopped that because that was God's plan. But we sure now ain't trying to do anything about it now to correct it. And it can be corrected. It can be restored. It can be rehealed. It can be rebuilt. But we have to want to. Because if it keeps going the way that it's going now, all it's going to do is continue to get worse and worse and worse. And the only winner going to be out of this is the devil. And mankind will be destroyed and never be like it was supposed to be from in the beginning. Especially tearing down and dividing and separating that relationship and that connection between man and woman.
Mm. And like I
And now
always
if
say,
this book, huh?
like I always be saying, man, is things are the way they are because things are not in their proper structure and order, man.
Right, right,
That's the only way. The only way anything is going to get fixed is to get back to that proper structure and order. And like I said, when it comes to and then this is what I'm saying. When I say what I'm saying, I'm not bashing. I'm not pointing the finger. I'm just merely stating what it is. This is a fact. Like my pop said, you cannot deny. I mean, you can deny, but that would be dabbling in the arena of cognitive dissonance. You know what I'm saying? And when it comes to
right,
this, like I said,
right,
you know what I'm saying, due to Eve's being mendenhalled from the bike.
right,
Listen to me, y'all. Listen to what happened, because what happened to Eve happened to Adam too, but it happened to Eve first.
right.
And I know some of the people who have some sort of knowledge and about this aspect of this whole paradigm may think, well, that's petty. No, that's not petty. It's what it is. Right? The only way that LSD was able to even get through to Adam is because of Eve. Because see, if like in the beginning, we didn't say when Eve first came into contact with the serpent, and she just would have alerted her man, this thing would have turned out way different. But the fact that Eve didn't do that, you know what I'm saying, and upon her not doing that, and Lucifer saying the devil knew this, you know what I'm saying? He's not a stupid guy, man. We couldn't get straight to Adam. In order to get to Adam, you have to go through Eve, the lesser and weaker vessel, right? And through Eve being mendenhalled from the bike, literally,
Yes.
this is how the reptilian DNA, so to speak, is now a part of every one of our physical makeup in this reality through the R complex. So, the reason why, especially with women, females, the reason why it's so easy for y'all to be led emotionally is due to y'all's contact with the serpent, y'all's initial contact with the serpent. And understand when Lucifer, the Satan the devil, mendenhalled Eve, basically hit Eve from the bike and implanted his seed into her not being of the her not of the image and likeness of the Most High God in the aspect that Adam was, right? This is what caused her DNA to be corruptible. This is what caused her DNA to be hijacked, if you would, and to be synced and linked with the frequency of the sperm seed of Lucifer, Satan, the devil, which reside and abides in all of us to this day, specifically with women. And this is all females. And this is why the overwhelming mass majority of females on planet Earth in this reality are being presided over and consumed by the Jezebel spirit. All right. And the reason why this is because of contact with LSD through Eve, that initial contact. All right. All right. Mr. O, what's good with you, bro? You ain't late, brother. You right on time, man. You right on time, man. And y'all know we're going to get to it, man. Now, see, this is something that we got to get into too, Pops, man. Because, you know, like I told y'all, LSD is a shapeshifter, right? And this being entity, whatever, you know, you want to call it, you know, appeared as a man to Eve, but not like a man. See, when Eve saw this man, this something like a man entity, whatever, she knew it wasn't Adam. Huh? Right? But it was something like Adam. But he wasn't Adam. And this her not her being made from out of Adam. Oh my God, man, I hate to say this, man. Women are the fallen state. Females are the fallen state of Adam. Or should I say Eve is the fallen state? That's powerful right there, man. You hear me? Yeah, man. I'm glad y'all tapping in, walking with us, man. I like having these conversations, man, because like I say, man, in order to get anything like solutions or anything like as far as like trying to fix or make anything better, we got to get to the basis. We got to get to the structure. You know, so we got to get to the foundation of where everything comes from, man. You know what I'm saying? And you have to have a certain mind, man. You have to have a certain eye and ear to be able to get this stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? For this stuff to be able to administer to you, man, and open up your ears and your mind and your, you know what I'm saying, and all of that. You know what I'm talking about? Because when we're talking heavy like this, man, you know, a lot of people going to get agitated, man. You know what I'm saying? But I had these conversations just so we can have some over and out of extra standing. And, you know, once we, because the one of the major things, Pops, I'm pretty sure you can agree with me on this. One of the major things is we just don't know. Remember when we was talking about last week how this, you know, people don't even, like especially young people that don't even have no knowledge of God.
Right, exactly.
So, you know, a lot of people just don't know. And that's all part of the plan. You know what I'm saying? Because when you don't know, right, that makes you more susceptible. That makes you more susceptible to being vulnerable, let's say, to the you know, pride of the flesh, lust of life, and the lust of, or all of that, lust of the eyes and all that stuff. That makes you more susceptible to fall victim to that. Because if you don't know, you don't know. Right? So you think this stuff is normal until you come tap in on the April Talk podcast Sunday night spiritual roots, and you be like, oh, whoa, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You know, people who live in a crazy house don't know they living in a crazy house. Let's say if you grew up in a film, like say for instance, I always use this for example. Everybody remember the movie Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? And how the whole family of Leatherface, when they were sitting at the table and they was eating dinner and the girls just was sitting there and everybody was a nut job in the house. You know what I'm saying? How would they think anything outside of how they conducted themselves was normal? I mean, that's what they normally encounter on an everyday basis. That was normal to them. You hear me? But the girl who didn't come up in that type of environment, She was
Right.
looking like people are absolutely insane nuts. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, man, I just want to, I say that to say what you normally see is that what you normally see. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right.
You want until if something else is brought to your awareness that challenge and questions that what you normally see or accept as being normal, what you've been told is normal, you know, then that's when you're gonna be like, whoa. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, people who in a crazy house don't know they in a crazy house for the most part.
And then, son, it's something like my oldest brother once said. And this is out of his book, your Uncle Barry. He said you can't tell how crooked a stick is until you put a straight one up against it.
Right.
You see, and I said and shared that with saying that far as normal and abnormal, when something is abnormal, if you're not used and know what is normal, and all you ever been taught and was raised and shown abnormal, then that's all you're gonna know. And that's the same way it is with deception and truth. If you never was shown the truth or told the truth about something, then you're gonna always believe and accept a lie. Because
Right.
it is always easier to believe and accept a lie than to see the truth, you know.
Right.
And that stems back to it. That's the whole thing that what the enemy wants to do anyway. See, that's his main job is to continue to tear down and destroy the relationship between man and woman, and to
Right.
continue to keep a woman where he has her at, the same way that he started off with their mother Eve in the garden. He wants to continue that. And God said, no, it's not to be like that for all eternity. God is going to re-straighten out everything that what went astray. God is going to straighten it all back out. He's going to put everything back in this proper place when it's all said and done. You know, not only with his creation in the spiritual realm, but also in the natural and physical realm, especially with man, and especially with woman. Because when he did it all in the beginning from in the garden, he knew that it was going to go astray, but he also knew that it wasn't going to remain and stay this way forever. He knew how far that it would go, but also we as being human beings, we are the only ones that have a free will. We're the only ones that can make things right that have been and done wrong. You feel what I'm saying? It takes us to make the change happen. And if one don't want to wake up, it just makes it harder for the other one. And that's what God's main purpose is, to restore everything back to where it was in the beginning before it all fell apart. And just like I said once again, is that women, they have their role to play. And all that I'm trying to do is to help not only just women, but also men, because when I help women, women helps me. You know what I'm saying? In order for me to be whole and complete again, she has to also be whole and complete again. Okay? Because it takes both of us for to make this happen. It wasn't God's intention for this to continue to be on like this with man and with woman, because it affects his whole plan of his creation. It affects the outcoming of the rest of the multiplying of mankind in the earth. If this continue on the road that it's on now, all it is just letting the devil see and letting him know and telling him you're winning. And we don't want him to win because he's not winning. He's continuing to keep his stroll going and keeping the chaos going and the destroying of man and woman towards and with and against each other. But it's not going to prevail, forever, because God's going to be the winner of everything. It's just that all those that who are lost and who falls and become a victim of it and to it. I mean, the earth is gonna go on much longer than what we think it is, but
Right.
at the same time, as long as it keeps filling up with the same stuff that it's filling up with now, and there's no positive change being made, all it's doing is just prolonging God's program a little bit longer for things, because he's going to give everything a chance and everything time to be put back in its proper place, you know, until he say, okay, enough is enough. I see where this is going to go to. I see that it's not going to get any better, you know. So then that's when he'll step in and he'll just put a stop to it all. But because of his love for his creation, God said that he will continue to endure and to put up with and to allow for this to go on until the sons and the daughters of God start manifesting themselves in the earth and making things right that have been made wrong, you know. And it takes both male and female in order for this to happen, you know. And in order for it to happen like that, that means that each person has to get back into their proper role and their proper place, you know, because long as one fight against the other, it's not going to happen like that. It's going to continue to unfold and be the way that it is now.
Right.
But you have to be aware of it, you know. That's why I say women have to be aware of where they're at right now and the role that they play and what's going on with them in their life, you know. And same way that men have to be the same way, you know, because we both have to do our part to make this right again, like it took both of us to do our part to make it wrong in the beginning, you know. So we have to reverse this whole cycle and start all over again from the beginning and make it right. And everybody do and play their part and their role. You know, women have to be women. Women have to start taking their proper place back in their role as being a woman and to their helpmate.
And part of that,
they have to.
Right. And part of that is not being a boss. Not being a CEO, not being in authority or leadership, especially over men. Right? Y'all weren't designed to be CEOs. Y'all weren't designed to be bosses. Y'all weren't designed to have leadership and authority over men in any capacity. And I know that sounds crazy to y'all, and it's going to, because that's that Jezebel spirit. That's that DNA linking. That's that soul tie to Lucifer, Satan, the devil. That when you hear that as a female, right, especially in this reality, that makes you and cringe up and right.
And hey, son, now these are a couple of things, and I'm just gonna quote real quick from out of Proverbs to help get and let women see what their role is and how they were. Okay.
Go ahead.
Before all this chaos and this craziness came about being. In Proverbs 12:4, it says that a wife of noble character is her husband's crown. Okay. But a disgraceful wife is a decay in his bones. Proverbs 31 says the whole book of it is about a virtuous woman. Like I said, in Proverbs chapter 31, all the way from 10 to the end of the verses is about a virtuous woman. In 1 Corinthians, it says that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of every woman is man, and of every man as Christ is God. Okay, these are the different formations of how it is. Okay, I'll say it again, that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of every man is his woman, and every head of Christ is God. So it's like, let me say it again so that it'll be sound right to whoever want to get it, because I kind of punctuated the way that I wrote it down to save space. But the head of every man is Christ, and the head of every man is and the head of every woman is a man. That's what I was messing up with. Okay, the head of every man is Christ, and the head of every woman is man, and the head of Christ is God. If that is put in order the way that it's supposed to be, then that is the beginning of start putting everything back in its proper sync with mankind and with man and with woman, because everybody have their place, like I was saying, uh, and as long as everything is out of place, then everything will continue to go astray and be like the way that it is. In Proverbs 14:1, it says that a wise woman buildeth her house, but with her own hands. Okay. But the foolish one tears it down. Okay. Proverbs is a deep book. It's good for Proverbs, to be read sometimes, when you have a chance to get into it, and I say for men and for women, because it speaks a lot about women. Woman is spoken so many times in the Bible, in the Old Testament and the New Testament, and it speaks a lot about the virtuous woman, but it also speaks a lot about the Jezebel woman, okay? And one thing that I have learned over the years is that when I used to go over and do my studying in the Word of God, starting from in Genesis about the garden, when the fall took place, is that God always had his particular different choice of how he perceived women after the fall. If you notice that, you can read throughout all the Bible, from Old Testament to New Testament, that God, I think, kind of was a little bit, somewhat skimmish about women after the fall. He didn't too much have really too much to say positively about women after the fall. It's just his whole place with women. I know I might sound kind of crazy in what I'm saying, but it's hard to put it in words. But he just didn't look upon woman or women the way that he did in the garden compared to after the fall took place. When you read in Proverbs, when you read in Psalms, and when you read in the Old Testament, and the various different women, that how he speaks about and uses and bring recognition to in the Bible, there's a lot of them that he used that he said that were good women, but for the most of it, women had just went astray and continued to go downhill from that point on, and really in the book of Proverbs, he it's some of them he hits hard on women. You think I'm talking hard about women? Read it in the Bible, especially in Proverbs. 31st is just specifically pertaining to the virtuous woman, but there's other part of Proverbs that the Lord speaks about that he be hard on women. He does. He be hard on women. Maybe we can do a part 2 on this one, and to bring some more positive insight to about a woman, because like I said, I don't want women to just think that this is just a bashing podcast, but it's just me trying to show where the stray went to where that women are not like they were in the beginning when God created and made Eve for Adam, and to look at to where that it is today, and the things that men go through and women go through, and the things that men put women through. I'll say this first, and the things that men put women through, but mostly because of what women put men through. Okay. Because, you have to be accountable for what you're accountable for. Us men have to be accountable for what we are and what we have done and what we have allowed to happen. You know what I'm saying? We're not getting off the hook with anything. I've always said that in my podcast. I'm harder on me than I am on anybody else, and can't nobody be harder on me other than God than I am on my own self. Right. So I'm not saying that just to be picking out and choosing just to try to be hard on women, because like I said, my mother was a woman, and I love my mother, and I love women. I thank God for women. You know what I'm saying? I don't look at the bad and the hard relationships that I've been through, to judge all women out of a few. That would be stupid to do, with a woman the same way, and that the bad relationship she have had with men is wrong for her to think now in her mind that that's the way all men are, and to harden her heart towards all men, and to think negatively about all men because of the handful or the personal problems or experiences that she went through with the men she had in her life. That don't constitute all men, because women, there are good men out there. There are still good godly men out there, just like I know there are still virtuous women out there. It's the ones that not yet back where they should be is the ones I'm concerned with, not the ones that already are, but the ones that have not yet come back to that point again. Them are the ones that I'm reaching out to, and letting women know that the enemy is on y'all tough. He never let off. He never let off of y'all from back in the garden. All right. He's even on y'all even harder in the day we live in. All right. You can see how far he done came. And to where that he got not only men strung out there so far, to where he got them turning into women, but he got women turning into men. And even got women now trying to take over the role and the part of a man's part, okay? The roles are reversed, and that's messed up. It's time to straighten all that out, I mean, what is already done is already done, only those that is lost can be found if they want to, and those that who are all messed up can be healed if they truly want to be healed, But this is the beginning of what it takes in order for to start restoring things back to its rightful place, is that you have to recognize, and you have to say, like it said at the Last Supper, when Christ was saying one was ready to betray him, and they all were saying, "Is it me? Is it me? Is it me?" And that's what we have to do with each other right now, when it comes to the situation that man and woman is in with each other. Is they have to ask and say to themselves, "Well, is it me?" And if it is you, then do what you need to do to make it right. And if it's not you, then support and try to help those that who need to see where they're at and to restore them back to where they're supposed to be. But of course, with love, because that's what it's all about. I don't mind nobody helping me and trying to get me right with what I'm supposed to be right with myself, if you do it with love, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take love, and men, be more merciful and more understanding with women, be more patient with them. It's a hard thing to learn. It's a hard thing to do sometimes, because when you go through so much in a relationship with a person, it's hard to try to bounce back and be back where you was before you went through all that trauma with them, and vice versa, But it's got to be a starting point somewhere, to where that we have to begin to start seeing what is really happening and who is really behind all this, to where they did have went so far astray and out of control with man and with women, and to want to be and get back into the proper role and structure of who you are and the way that you're supposed to be, to where that we can begin to start enjoying one another like we was, and to rebuild the family circle, the family unit, Let the man be the head that he's supposed to be again, and let the woman be and do what she's supposed to do and be in her place the way that she's supposed to be. Because we have our children that we have to also consider that they the one that suffer the most out of all this. They really are. It's our children that are the ones that are suffering the most behind all this, not having their fathers in their lives, their mothers not being where they're supposed to be in their lives, because they're trying to play the father and the mother role. It's just everything is so out of place and so disaccord that it's time for to put everything back in place, and everybody have to do what they supposed to do and doing their part to make it happen. That's all I'm saying. That's all Virgil Berry Sr. is saying, and that's his main purpose of what he's trying to do when I have these podcasts, is to bring everything right again, and to straighten out and to correct all that what the enemy has been doing, and seeing who it is and knowing who is the one that is causing all this, you know. Once we wake up and see who it really is, then we can really be about trying to straighten all this out and quit blaming one another and each other, okay? Even though if we might have a part in it, we all are still being used by the greater enemy, and that's Lucifer, Satan, the devil, you know. And start getting back into who we are as being a spirit, you know, and being a part of God, and start turning our hearts and our lives to Christ and to God, and start going to Him, and He'll help us and He'll show us what is really going on in the world and in the earth, you know, giving us spiritual revelation and letting us see with our spiritual eyes what is really going on in this earth and in this world with mankind and with the male and with the female and with the children and with everything. It's just time for to start waking up and seeing what is going on in the earth with mankind, all right? Because this is the only way healing is going to take place. This is the only way a change is going to take place, you know. This is the only way that everybody will be put back in their proper place to where it was in the beginning before the fall happened. And isn't this what we all want? We want to be happy in our lives. We want to have a happy life. We want to have a home. We want to have family. We want to have loved ones, you know. We want to do all the right things that what it was supposed to be like, or what it was like in the beginning, and get it back to that place to where that it should be in the day that we live in, you know, so that we can go out with the right type of vein that we supposed to, and that God can look down and say He is well pleased with where man has came from to where man has been in to where man now is, you know. And I don't know much more that I can say, because like I said, I know this is going to be a tough podcast, you know, and I'm still throwing all up in a thing about it, you know, because it really perplexes me, you know. It bothers me deeply in my spirit, you know, that there's some things that seem like that just shouldn't be the way that it is, but it is. And how is it that it can be to start getting it right again? You know, where do you start at? You know, it involves so many people, you know, and you're just one person, you know, and you try to reach out as much as you can to many people as you can, hoping that everybody can see the way that it's supposed to be seen, not so much see it your way, because it's not about my way, it's not about your way, it's about God's way, you know.
Right.
And it takes everybody, yeah, it takes everybody to participate in it in God's way in order to restore it and to make it happy again. But we have to start where we know to start from, you know, and everybody has to play their part, not just as an individual, but as a whole.
Right. And that
But
goes
it
off to
takes,
what that gotta go back to what I was saying when I was saying the other day. When I was saying the other day that yeah, the only thing that matters is the truth. Right?
that's right.
Your truth doesn't matter. My
That's
truth
right. That's right.
doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the truth.
The truth.
And when you align yourself with the truth, whatever you feel is your truth no longer is your truth anymore. It's only the truth. You have to be able to recognize that. You know what I'm saying? And that's where that vanity comes in a lot, especially amongst a lot of y'all chicks. You know what I'm saying? A lot of y'all chicks don't understand that when y'all say the words "my truth," but don't understand how when you speak in your truth, when that aligns with the truth, it no longer is your truth. It's just the truth. See, once it becomes your truth, it's not a part of the truth because your truth is subjective, right? Your truth, has parameters and has limits. The truth does not. You know what I mean? So, and that goes for us men too, though. It's more prominent amongst y'all females, though. So, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead and say with your last words in closing that we got to get up out of here because I got to get up out of here.
Right. But just like I said, I thank my YouTube family this evening for the podcast. I thank for your ears, spiritually and physically. Like I said, I'll apologize, and if I stepped on any toes, if it seemed like that I bashed any women, that I from my heart apologize, and that wasn't my intention. I didn't mean to, didn't want to, and I don't feel that I really had, but just for me who I am, I apologize even if I am right. you know, if it'll make things and bring peace, because that's what I want. It's peace between men and women, and for men and women to be restored back to where they were in the beginning before all this craziness happened. I hope everybody have a good week coming ahead. Women, uh, God loves you. I love you. I think most of mankind love you.
You know I
We
love
just
you. I
want
love you to
to,
death with your little dirty ass.
we just hope and we know and we claim that things is going to be restored and be made all right, and that a lot of you women's eyes have been opened spiritually, and seek God for the things that what I've said tonight, to know that if it have any valid to it or not, just seek the truth, and the truth will set you free, and everyone have a blessed week, and son, I'll be talking to you later on, and
You already know
everyone
we
just have
gonna
a good
chop it up.
evening, and I love you all, and good night, and I'm
Yeah, I
out.
love you too, Pops, man. We're gonna chop it and pop it, man.
All right, and there will be a part two of this, and women, give us some feedback, give us some positive feedback as well as negative. We want both,
Yeah, we
but
accept
we
it
want
all.
the truth to be revealed though.
Right.
And
All right
I'll
then,
see
Pops.
y'all next week.
Yeah, y'all already know what it is, man. Y'all know how we do it, man. We're gonna get up out of here, man. Listen, man. You know, that whole situation that happened, man, that whole Mendenhall, man, that's a serious situation, man. And I want y'all to understand that, things are the way they are because, what I'm saying, woman, it was designed to be like that, but it wasn't designed to stay like that. You know what I'm talking about? We gotta get a better over inner understanding of who we really are versus what we are. You hear me? Don't let this skin suit fool you. It's only what you are. It's not who you are, man. You know what I'm saying? And once we get back to proper order and structure, God, man, woman, child, that's when this reality will change. And we can, like I always say, we can make the matrix do as we see fit. I've been telling you how long I've been telling y'all that. We can make the matrix do as we see fit, but in order to do that, we got to get back to the proper structure and order. And until proper structure and order is restored, it's going to be different versions of the matrix. And this new version that LSD is forming, right, is designed to completely and totally cut us off from the source, which is Yeshua HaMashiach, the Most High. All right. Yeah, and this is the whole thing, though, man. This whole gender war is not even a war for real, for real. You know what I mean? But it's going to continue, right, until proper structure and order is restored. And if we don't get it together ourselves, like so many times in history, the Most High will make it happen. All right. So y'all enjoy yourself, man. I'm about to get up out of here. We're going to get right back to it tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. We're going to be getting into it. Hold on. Let me bring up the show for y'all tomorrow. What we're going to be discussing tomorrow. We got a beautiful week of content coming up. You did. You know what I'm saying? Tomorrow we're going to be discussing. Tomorrow, oh yeah, this is going to be a good one tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be discussing is feminism infiltrating the ism. Right? Is feminism infiltrating the ism? That's going to be the topic of discussion tomorrow night, y'all. So y'all make sure y'all tap in tomorrow. Be there. Don't be square. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We going in. Tap in and walk with us. You already know I'm going to leave y'all with this little flipperachi, man. Y'all already know what it is, man. God got us all, man. That's capital G, capital O, capital D. Let's go. You hear me? Tap in and walk with us, y'all. We'll see y'all tomorrow, man. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Smash that like button, click on the bell, subscribe to the page, share, and social engineer, man.
Cheers. That'll be $15.
Don't worry about it. I got you. And don't forget, God got us out. You welcome.
I was the bridge to your problems, but y'all took me for granted. We traumatized in the hood, dog. Look at the damage. I've been grinding my whole life. I ain't nothing like you. There's 24 hours in the day. You ain't got nothing to do. I sacrificed my show money just to bring y'all around. Y'all was holding me back instead of holding me down. Y'all be talking behind my back, but in my face, you my brother. But you'll never know my pain until you lose your mother. This whole industry is fake. I wish we spent more time. I blew the brains out the coop. That mean I lost my mind. My reality is I can dictate my salary. Think about it. Only bad came to those who challenged me. Yeah, Jesus walked and Jesus wept. He walking with me. I see the steps. The pandemic came. We barely made it through. I'm a living testimony of what God can. When your pockets get low and your bills stacking up, and the hours that you put in, it ain't add up. God got us all, man. God got us all. Look up in there, I done that. The battle with the devil, I won that. 'Cause God got us all. God got us all. To all the people in Jackson, Mississippi with bad water, I just sent a truckload of clean H2O. God got us when it feel like adversity start to win. They say when you rap about God, it take away from your spin. Okay, well I hope it take away from my sins. I'm signed to beat, so my whole record label go win. One of my partners going through it, I'm gonna show them the way. And when I help, this ain't the type of stuff I throw in your face. I got a gift they love flip, cause I done carried the cross. I'm watching out for Jezebels trying to marry the boss. My granny had me in the church, I praise God for work. And I don't claim to be perfect, I still get my dirt. Yeah, Jesus walks and Jesus loves. Put the guns down. You need a hug. Protect your mental health. Every inner wealth. God protect you from these demons. I need you when your pockets get low and your bills stacking up, and the hours that you put in, it ain't add up. God got us all, man. God got us all. Look up in there, I done that. The battle with the devil, I won that. 'Cause God got us all. God got us all.
All right, it's Turner Senior. What's good, bro? See y'all tomorrow, man. Enjoy the rest of y'all evening, man.
Each and every day, I know He got us all. God got us all.